Welcome to The Adventure of Alpaca. Written and developed by Stan, 51021. Now loading. You're walking along a road. It's dark. Trees almost entirely blocking out the stars. The oranges and browns of the leaves tremble as a wind blows through. Some of them remind you of hands, waving. You are alone. After walking for a long time, the road splits into two. Will you go left or go right? Geez, choices. Pondering deeply on your choice, you start down the left road. It starts going downhill. You try to step carefully. You see ahead is a small speck of light. As you get closer, you realize it's a lantern hung on a tree. You take the lantern in your hand. You have light. Lantern added to inventory. Moving onward, you eventually come to a wall. There are two tunnels cut into it, one left and one right. You can see some light coming from the right tunnel. You see none on the left. You start going left. You realize this was a bad idea. You can't see anything. It's too dark. You start shivering. Will you go back? You would continue, but it's too dark and cold. To go any further like this would be a bad idea. Will you go back? You light the lantern and can now see. The tunnel is still very dark ahead. The walls look wet. Will you go back? You continue onward. You still see no light, and the entrance is disappearing behind you. It's very, very cold. Will you go back? It's now completely dark behind you. The lantern is flickering. You don't want to go any further. Will you go back? You continue forward. This goes on for some time until you hear something strange and stop. You realize you aren't hearing only one pair of footsteps. There's something coming ahead of you, echoing off the walls. Your lantern goes out. You go back. You leave the left tunnel and feel relieved. You are now at the tunnel entrances. You can see some light coming from the right tunnel. You see none on the left. Picking up what they're putting down. After going through the right tunnel, you emerge onto the front lawn of a house. You can see lights in the windows. It looks very nice and inviting. You can see a shed, a playground, and a pond in the forest surrounding it. Stepping onto the porch, you feel a comforting calm wash over you. Above the door, there's a sign that reads, "A home is a house with a heart." If you were inside, everything would finally be okay. The handle shimmies but doesn't open. You have to find a way inside. The handle shimmies but doesn't open. It's locked. Let's see here. Go to shed. You step off the porch, make note, then head to the shed. Approaching the shed, you see that the door is slightly open already. The lock and chain that were around the handles are on the ground. You are now standing in front of the shed. You can tell it's dark inside. You enter the shed. Remember, type leave to leave the shed at any time. There are no windows. It's hard to see. You feel around and find a thing and a surprise. Light fills the tiny room. You can see a fishing pole leaning against the wall, a small chest in the far corner, and a trap door in the floor. Fishing pole added to your inventory. Open chest, BB. The lid creaks as you open it. It seems very old. Inside is a small cloth doll in a blue outfit. It's missing an eye. Doll added to your inventory. What else was there? Open trapdoor. That's always a good idea. It swings open noisily, and the ladder creaks as you descend. The subterranean room is dimly lit, but still too dark to see anything. Your lantern begins to flicker here. A pull chain in the center of the room leads to an empty light socket. Pull chain. A click sounds as the chain is pulled. The trap door swings shut. Your lantern flickers off. It is now totally dark in the room. A soft noise fills the space from somewhere near the walls. It sounds like nails tapping. You suddenly feel hands all over you, rifling around. You try to push them away, but they're strong. The door swings back open and the room is lit again. There is nothing. You check your pockets. You discover a hand-drawn picture of a dolphin. You like it. Picture headed to infantry. Okay, see if the lantern will go back on. You don't need to use the lantern right now. Look. You don't know what to look at. You pull the chain, but nothing happens. You ascend back up the ladder. You can see a trapdoor in the floor. You're back outside the shed. The door is still opened. You make note of the shed and head over to the pond. Planks creak as you step onto the dock. The water is dirty and hard to see through. Probably too filthy to drink. You wonder if there's anything beneath. You cast the line and wait. It's quiet for a very long time. Suddenly, there's a very hard tug on the line. You quickly reel it in and find a key tied at the end. You wonder what pulled so hard. Key added to your inventory. There was a third place, right? Was it a playground? You take another look at the murky water, then head to the playground. Wood chips crunch under your feet as you step onto the playground. There's a seesaw, a set of swings, and a dirty sandbox. Sitting on one of the swings is a small doll. It looks lonely. You place your doll on the swing next to the other. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, nothing happens. You swings. You would, but both seats are taken. Use seesaw. Approaching the seesaw, it doesn't look like anyone's used it for years. You imagine a ghostly child sitting on the other side, waiting countless days for someone to come play with them. You feel tears in the corner of your eyes. You take a seat on the seesaw. As it goes down with your weight, you hear a distant click. A light illuminates from the shed. It's weird. Look. Sandbox. It's just a dirty box of sand. The sand looks damp. Take sand. There's no sand to take. Go to your shed. You begin to, but once your back is to the dolls, you feel something hit the back of your head. You turn and see the doll's chest has been ripped open, stuffing exposed. On the ground behind you is a key. Must be a thank you. As you leave the playground, you hear the sound of swings creaking and children laughing behind you. You smile. Approaching the shed, you see that the door is slightly open already. The lock and chain that were around the handles are on the ground. You are now standing in front of the shed. You can see a light flickering inside. You enter the shed. Light fills the tiny room. Was that it? Was it just a bypass for having the lantern? I think it was. You're back outside the shed. The door is still opened. Go to house. You make note of the shed and head over to the house. You're back at the house. You feel a familiar yet comforting calm wash over you. A door sits in front of you. Feeling so silly you didn't see it before, you notice there's a second lock. Guess it'll take just a little longer to get inside. Whoops, haha. You didn't see the chain that wraps around the door, which has a lock too. You feel like this should be the last one. For sure. Probably. I think I only have 2 keys. You don't have a key to use. In your inventory, you have lantern, fishing pole, picture. Try fishing again. Planks creak as you step onto the dock. The water is dirty and hard to see through. Probably too filthy to drink. You wonder if there's anything beneath. Go fishing again. There is no fishing to go to. Use fishing pole. The moment your line hits the water, you feel a tremendous force pull it. Your fishing pole is ripped from your hands and into the water. Something flies out of the water and lands in your hands. It's a severed hand. One of the fingers twitches. Hand added to your inventory. Inventory. Open hand. I don't know the action open. Use hand. Dropping it to the ground, the hand scurries away. You don't see where it goes. Is it too dark? Okay, so the severed hand scurried away from us and we don't know where it went. So what do we do now? This is inadvisable. Don't ever do this. You scoop up the water and take a sip. It tastes like mud. You bet there's clean water in the house. Take another look at the murky water, then head to the playground. Wood chips crunch under your feet as you step onto the playground. There is now a doll on each swing. One of them is ripped open. Open doll. You try, but as you tug, you realize the doll's hands are somehow stuck to the chains. You leave it alone. Go to sandbox. You're already near the sandbox. Play sandbox. You begin moving around the muck of the sandbox and try to make a castle. You just get sad that it's not as good as the house. As you dig, you feel something. You pull it out and shake off the muck. It's a bulb. Who would play with this? As you leave the playground, you hear the sound of swings creaking and children laughing behind you. You smile. Approaching the shed, you see that the door is slightly open. Okay, we know this. A familiar hand suddenly leaps into your inventory. It was carrying something. A map. It shows you how to get to a hidden place. Okay, so just remember hidden place. Use trapdoor. It swings open, ladder creaks as you descend. The subterranean room is dimly lit, but still too dark to see anything. Pull chain. You pull the chain, but nothing happens. Oh, use bulb. The bulb squeaks as you screw it into the socket the chain is attached to. Some dust flakes off of it and gets into your mouth. Spit. He doesn't know the action spit. Okay, pull chain. A click sounds as the chain is pulled. Light fills the room. There are many faint scratches on the wall. They look like tallies. A wall covered in a purple liquid suddenly begins to slide open. After a few moments, a secret room reveals itself. You can clearly make out an old cabinet and a large pile of bones. There also sits a strange drawing on a wall, and a glass case. Something shiny catches your eye in the glass case. 2 small circular slots are engraved on the front of it. Open cabinet. You try opening all of the cabinet drawers, but they all seem to be damaged or locked. Search bones. Use bones? You politely move aside a femur, skull, and pelvis in order to find a skeletal hand. It shakes your hand like a familiar friend. You notice an interesting looking ring on one of its fingers. You take the ring off of the skeletal hand. Examine ring. There's nothing special about it. Look at drawing. You press your hand on the drawing in hopes of something to happen. After stepping back, you realize how pointless of an idea that was. Suddenly, your entire body is frozen. You're paralyzed with fear as the drawing seems to come to life and speak to you. If you want to leave with your life, answer my riddle. You can have me, but cannot hold me. Gain me and quickly lose me. If treated with care, I can be great. And if betrayed, I will break. What am I?
Well, I don't know.
That's a riddle. I'm not good at riddles. I have no idea.
I'll give you a hint. It's something I hope we can always have during our friendship. It starts with a T and has us in it.
An audible click is heard on the old cabinet. You are no longer frozen. You open the last functional drawer, only to find a singular ring. You take it. You walk over to the glass case and place the ring into the first slot. You place the ring into the second slot. The ceiling of the glass case pops open, revealing the key inside. You take the key from the case. You ascend back out the ladder. You're back outside the shed. The door is now locked shut. You begin sinking into the floor and land into a seemingly endless abyss. Eerie, white figures float around at the distance. A small box with a keypad sits in front of you. Reminder, type leave to return to reality. Use keypad. You are now using the keypad. You float upwards and emerge back into the shed. Standing in front of the shed, you see that the door is sealed shut. You make note of the shed and head over to the house. You're back at the house. You feel a familiar yet comforting calm wash over you. The door clicks. It's unlocked. You push open the door. Everything is dark.